Community Futures, as an overall community support for small business, offers many, many supports. Supports that aren't necessarily available to just the general public out there who are trying to start up a business. If you go, no offense to the banks, but if you go into the bank and you get a loan, they really don't offer that in-depth support and service that's available. If you come to Community Futures as a client or just looking for help, the help that's available is amazing.
For me, it's all about payback. We borrowed a bunch of money from Community Futures to get this building to go where it is, and I felt compelled to make sure that they got a good return on their investment, because it was an investment that I couldn't have lived without.
They were originally started to support communities of under 50,000, which meant most small rural communities in Canada, and I think what it was able to do is that it also is that central place that you can go to collect information, but also to access other resources. So it's not just about what's available locally, but it's about what they can access for you while you're here in your community from other sources. So I see it's got some other networking and connection values.
They just looked at the business from a closer perception, as in they're all community members. There's on the board, there's obviously business owners. They know what it's like. It was a more personal thing, and they took it at a more local level, as opposed to, a big conglomerate looking at this tiny little speck business.
Its success is based on that aspect that you have people at the governance table who know the region, know the economics of the region, know the opportunities of the region, and can assist individuals that have ideas or concepts that want to promote entrepreneurialism. It can get behind that because it has a good broad-based knowledge of the local area, right? So that's been the key aspect of making it all work. And you can make your own decisions locally. They don't have to be vetted by somewhere else, Vancouver or Ottawa or something. You make a decision, boom, on you go.
They really take on the function of community developer. So they take it from an economic development perspective, but because they look at the community as a whole, they can also be innovative in terms of looking at an autism center as something that can assist with recruitment and retention, but also as a means of creating employment for residents of the community.
And the community in this sense is a region, okay? Not just the city of Williams Lake. It's east to the Rocky Mountains, west to Bella Coola out to the coast, south down to 70 Mile, and north up to about Macleese. So it's a fairly broad region.
Community Futures has been very successful in generating business opportunities and assisting small businesses with growth.
There's a million great ideas out there. Out of that million, there's 15 that'll work. And if you can get those going in the right direction, I think it's invaluable for a lot of people. They have the idea, they don't have the resources, they don't know where to go. There isn't a bunch of Donald Trumps with storefronts that you can walk in and say, I got this great idea, I want to start a business. But Community Futures, they nurture you along to keep you going and find the right way.
So they come into the self-employment program. By applying for that program, and if they're accepted, they are allowed to receive some financial supports in the form of more or less an EI that helps to free up some of the funding during the business startup. They can expand their business more quickly. It is much more able to survive during that critical first year of self-employment. The failure rate out there in the real world is very, very high for the first year in business because it's very scary.
Yeah, so ran through the course there and stuff, and got a lot of information to help with kind of business planning and designing, and figuring stuff out for your flow sheets, and all kinds of unexpected costs that you didn't think about.
Working on business plans, logos, working on a number of different aspects which had to be covered.
Mostly just planning. You can never plan enough. It's all the unforeseen stuff that's going to jump up and bite you.
None of the other salons or spas in town were interested in hiring me on, and so I went to the employment building and and said, look, these are the struggles that I'm facing. What can you help me with? And they set me up. I think it was less than 48 hours. I was in Tanis's office talking to her about what I needed and how she was going to fit into helping me figure that out, and signed me up for the Community Futures program, and it's been amazing.
Community Futures has been with us from the very beginning of opening up our co-op, bringing in expertise to teach us about co-ops and pick a model, and they helped us with our business planning and even strategic planning along the way, and now we're 5 years old, and so anytime we need some consultation or business expertise or marketing courses or anything like that, Community Futures has always been very supportive.
And that's definitely been some of my needs over the years is, how do you put together let's say a business plan? For many years, myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people are similar, you do what you feel makes sense, and you keep going with that. But sometimes you get to a point where, it's not just what makes sense to oneself, but this understanding that I have, how can we make it make sense how can we present it to others so that understanding can not just be shared, but can be presented in such a way that there's an interest in it as well.
I would encourage everyone that's starting a new business, even if you've been in business before, to put in place a business plan. People that come to me in my other business, which is advanced business consulting, I help people start up businesses. And that to me is one of the most important things I stress with my clients. Please do a complete business plan, and Community Futures helps with that.
And sometimes I don't often have people read a strategic business plan or read the Child Development Center's business plan. So it was very helpful when they read it, because there were some pieces that I hadn't thought about and some things that I could consider that have expanded the plan and improved it, actually.
I in university, had gone through some business and was aware that I needed to write a business plan. I had mocked up business plans in the past, but they were all dependent on existing details for other businesses. And so going at it kind of blind, having that 4-day refresher and being able to ask questions that were pertinent specifically to me was an amazing resource.
I noticed in the business plan, while we were doing the course there were a few people in a lot of different levels of curiousness and ignorance, if you want to call it that. And they were all catered to quite well in the program, at whatever level you're at.
Nancy was an amazing teacher, that's for certain. Wealth of knowledge. I've never seen anybody remember names like her. I'll never forget that. She walked into that classroom and took everybody's name once as she went around with roll call. And the rest of that day, she never screwed up anyone's name that was in that room, and she addressed everyone by name. I'd never seen nothing like it before. She had my full attention.
There's lots of entrepreneurial spirit in the world, and sometimes it needs to get harnessed because it just can't get harnessed any other way than with some help. And I think that's where Community Futures really helps launch people.
For many years I was quite taken by chainsaws. A couple of guys that were older than me, that's what they did in the summer was logging, and never thought that passion or an interest in chainsaw would take me to log building, and where log building has taken us to, but that's been good.
It sort of was a dream of mine to actually have a business that was very related to the downtown of Williams Lake. I wanted to offer something that would contribute to the beautification, to the advancement of the downtown core, to help support it. The opportunity came when I purchased a building, and I, rented it for a little while, and then proceeded to, the opportunity arose to actually create a coffee and tea house. So I spent a lot of time with a heritage building, renovated it, and turned it into a coffee and tea house, which is now expanded into really a full-fledged restaurant.
We couldn't have opened up Cariboo Growers without the support, the financial support, and the business expertise support.
It's a very nice process. It's easy to deal with. People are fantastic here. Really friendly, and really helped me push it through. I was about to give up on it. I thought, I don't know the ins and outs of doing it, but they just kept pursuing me and saying, we can help you out.
And mostly it was just through that initial 1-week program and the constant contact with the people in Williams Lake to sort of dot all the I's and cross the T's and say, okay, I'm going out the door now. And it started slow, but every year has been better since.
Everybody's helpful. Everybody's willing to bend over backwards to make sure that everything that you need is met. They remind you that if you have any issues, they don't know until you tell them.
Well, I'll tell you, I was nervous when I first came into this place because of insecurities or whatever, you know, not knowing and that sort of thing. But I found throughout the experience here that I gained confidence, I gained expertise from many sources, which I still tap into. And I find that entrepreneurship is it's a battle, but then again, it's not a war. I found that I was struggling, and with the help of the program, I am well set up to carry on business the way I've been doing, and I expect growth and happiness.